He shouted, "I am not sorry for what I did, but I am sorry for your loss." These were the last words of Ronnie O'Neal. Afterward, everyone in the courtroom shouted, "You are evil." You might be wondering, who is Ronnie O'Neal and what did he do? What was the motive behind the crime? Did he receive appropriate punishment? All these questions are essential, and we will answer them as we recount the story of the crime that shocked the entire world, known in the media as the Riverview Murders. Ronnie O'Neal was born on June 27, 1988, to a biological father who suffered from schizophrenia, whom Ronnie only met later during his teenage years. He suffered a great trauma in his childhood as a result of being sexually assaulted at the age of 5. Sadly, the person who assaulted him has not been identified, but based on the statement of Ronnie O'Neal's mother, the attacker may be from family or family friends. He went to a local elementary school. He then proceeded to East Bay High School in Gibsonton, Florida. After graduating from high school, he joined the Reserve Officer Training Corps, a college program offered by colleges and universities to prepare young adults to become officers in the United States military. He tried joining the United States Marine Corps but failed the entrance exam several times. Later, Ronnie embraced Islam and became involved in social activities aimed at reducing crime and steering people away from using weapons. In 2017, Ronnie experienced a random shooting incident, which his lawyers, along with Ronnie, later used to argue that he was mentally ill. This incident made Ronnie extremely anxious and constantly felt threatened. The situation worsened when his mother tried to comfort him by sending an email that said, "You are strong. You were and always will be strong. I remember when I tried to abort you, but I couldn't." This message made Ronnie feel like he wasn't meant to be in this world, and his mental state deteriorated further. Ronnie also used this email to try to convince the court that he had been subjected to multiple traumas that affected his mental health. Ronnie O'Neal worked in various jobs, including at a gaming house and as a truck driver at one point. During this time, he met his girlfriend and the mother of his children, Kenyatta Barron. At the beginning of their relationship, her love for him was obvious to everyone, but Kenyatta Barron's mother didn't think it was good. In fact, Kenyatta Barron's mother turned out to be right, as the couple separated shortly after the birth of their children. Kenyatta gave birth to a daughter, Ronnie O'Neal, and a son. In 2016, Kenyatta obtained a court order to establish the paternity of their daughter. According to Kenyatta's mother, Kenyatta tried to get closer to O'Neal not just because she loved him, but also because she was a wonderful and caring mother who wanted her children to grow up in a healthy environment. Despite her daughter being diagnosed with autism and cerebral palsy, this did not stop Kenyatta from making her daughter happy. Their rooms were filled with pictures of happy moments, and Kenyatta did everything she could to bring joy to her daughter. In contrast, Ronnie O'Neal often avoided her. He had already become involved with another woman with whom he had a child, and was trying to build a new family, neglecting the emotional and financial needs of his daughter from his previous relationship. On the evening of Sunday, March 18, 2018, Ronnie O'Neal visited Kenyatta and their children at their home. An argument ensued, the cause of which remains unknown. Ronnie O'Neal shot Kenyatta twice with a shotgun, causing her to flee to her daughter's room, screaming for help. She locked herself in the closet and called 911 for assistance. During this time, Ronnie attacked his daughter with an axe multiple times, resulting in her death. He then brutally stabbed his son and poured gasoline on him. After that, Ronnie tried to pull Kenyatta out of the closet and then stabbed her repeatedly, shouting, "Allahu Akbar." Kenyatta tried to escape outside the house, which made the neighbors witness her last moments as she gasped for breath. One of the neighbors approached them and found Ronnie holding her arm, shouting at his neighbor's face, "You don't know anything, call 911, she tried to kill me." The neighbor stayed with Kenyatta's body, waiting for the police, who arrived at the house within 8 minutes. Meanwhile, Ronnie entered the house and continued to spread gasoline throughout the premises. He then called 911, claiming that Kenyatta had tried to kill him and that he was seeing white demons. He proceeded to set the house on fire, causing severe burns to his son. Fortunately, the son managed to escape and seek help from the police who had already arrived at the scene. They arrested Ronnie while he kept shouting, "Allahu Akbar." Allahu Akbar, or God is greater. It's a supplication Muslims say when seeking help from God. Although the crime itself is considered one of the most heinous crimes people can hear about, the trial itself was equally sensational, featuring many bizarre and irrational moments. The first of these was Ronnie O'Neal's insistence on representing himself. In the next few minutes, I will summarize the most important events that occurred during the 9 days of the trial. Day 1, Jury Selection. The trial began with jury selection, overseen by Judge Michelle Cisco. Potential jurors faced intense scrutiny, with many expressing strong opinions on the death penalty. This initial phase set the tone for a trial filled with emotional and legal complexities. On that day, Ronnie attempted to press the court to disclose the religions of the jurors and whether they all were Christians and believed in the death penalty. He appeared composed and continued to pose several religious questions to the jurors. The court eventually instructed Ronnie not to discuss any religious matters inside the courtroom. Day 2, Opening Statements. In the opening statements, the prosecution played a chilling 911 call from Kenyatta Barron in which she pleaded for her life. The state painted a gruesome picture of the events, describing how O'Neal allegedly hunted down Barron and brutally killed her and their daughter. O'Neal, representing himself, claimed the case was tampered with and fabricated. Day 3, Witness Testimonies begin. The third day saw the first witnesses take the stand. First responders gave harrowing accounts of the crime scene, and the state presented physical evidence, including a shotgun allegedly used in the murders. O'Neal's cross-examinations were intense and often emotional. Day 4, Testimony from O'Neal's son. In a rare and emotional courtroom scene, O'Neal's surviving son testified against him. The boy recounted the terrifying night when his mother and sister were killed. This testimony was pivotal, with the young boy bravely facing his father and recounting the horrors he witnessed. Day 5, Forensic Evidence and Mental Health Day, focused on forensic evidence and O'Neal's mental health. A clinical and forensic psychologist testified about O'Neal's history of trauma and mental illness, which the defense argued contributed to his actions. The state, however, maintained that the brutality of the murders warranted the death penalty. Day 6, Defense's Case. The defense called O'Neal's family members and friends who spoke about his childhood traumas and mental health struggles. O'Neal's ex-girlfriend testified about his changing behavior following a 2017 drive-by shooting. The defense aimed to portray O'Neal as a deeply troubled individual deserving of life imprisonment rather than death. Day 7, Closing Arguments. Closing arguments were delivered with intense emotion. The prosecution reiterated the cruelty and suffering of the victims, urging the jury to recommend the death penalty. The defense highlighted O'Neal's mental health issues and traumatic past, asking for a life sentence instead. Day 8, Jury Deliberation and Verdict. After hours of deliberation, the jury recommended life in prison for Ronnie O'Neal. This decision brought mixed reactions from the families involved. Kenyatta Barron's family expressed their disappointment, feeling that justice was not fully served. Day 9, Family Reactions and Final Thoughts. Family members of Kenyatta Barron shared their sorrow and frustration with the verdict. Despite the jury's recommendation, Kenyatta's mother expressed a sense of personal justice, believing that O'Neal's life in prison would be a miserable existence. After the court sentenced Ronnie O'Neal to life in prison, one lingering question remains. What could compel anyone to commit such a heinous act against this kind and beautiful mother and her daughter, who was born with a condition that limits her movement and communication like any other child? Having read numerous psychological analyses of Ronnie O'Neal's case, I haven't found childhood trauma, which he claimed affected his mental faculties, to be the sole reason. Instead, what appears evident is his megalomania and a lack of appreciation for the extent of love that Kenyatta tried to give him. He treated her with harshness and indifference to the point where he saw her as less human and had no right to live. I had hoped for him to be sentenced to death as a deterrent for anyone who might think they could commit a similar act. For your information, in Islam, which is Ronnie O'Neal's religion, the religious ruling would be for him to be killed. Share your opinion in the comments. Is a life sentence equivalent to what this criminal did? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.